Hey everybody, Katie Sutton here, intuitive channel and founder of Zen Within Academy and the New Earth Now School with your Zen Withins'day update. Ooh, my friends, I want you to just tap in for a second and tune into how you're doing. I, full disclosure, have been moving through such deep levels of emotion and sadness and can't even describe all of the emotions that I've been feeling in the last probably couple of weeks. I was a little frozen for a bit and then it all came to the surface. And as I've been working with clients, I had a client yesterday and I just had to hold her for 20 minutes while she cried. So that's the kind of stuff that we're working on right now. And I could point to so many things as to why this is present. There's astrological influences. We're in between summer solstice and Lionsgate, which is always like a time of letting go to make space for coming into our next round of power. We have a lot of stuff going on in the collective, but really, when I really tune in and I drop into my connection with my guides and they come forward, what I feel is that this is just what's needed right now so that we can move to our next stage of openness in our hearts so that we can shed old stories and old timelines that we don't want to repeat. And we really need to be with this process. And I can feel in the collective how hard things are right now. And I'm not just talking about the usual hard, which is all of the economic and all the things going on in the world and all the politics. I'm talking about a level of hard where we have been in this level of duality for so long and on some part of our levels, some part of our core within our being, we know that this doesn't have to be the way that we human, and this isn't all there is. And we have to process the emotions that have been stirred up for all of these centuries of not being able to be cared for and be in our power and be supported and be in harmony with one another. That's the kind of stuff that I see us working on. And gosh, it's just so intense. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how to navigate when it's intense like this, because you might be going into freeze, you might be going into numbing out, scrolling, substances, food, all of those things. And I think they're here sometimes because chocolate is here for a reason. We need it sometimes. But I personally am finding that I can't, that's not really going to cut it. That my guides keep telling me to sit down and shut up. That's why I've been a little quiet on here, a little quiet on social media. I have things that I want to create and want to birth in the world, but I literally can't. The imagery that my guides give of where I am right now is I'm curled up in the fetal position, naked and buried in the earth, waiting on a rebirth. And I keep getting up every morning wondering, okay, is today going to be the day where I come out of the earth and come back into expression and come back into my fullness? And they're like, nope, not today. And I get a little sad. And so, one of the strategies, I think, or one of the ways that we can support ourselves when there's this level of intensity and we're going through this transition into a rebirth is to not push ourselves, to give ourselves grace, to try our best to surrender. And surrender looks like saying, if this never changes, I'll be okay. Knowing that it will probably change because we go through cycles and shifts all the time. But can you completely surrender to this and say, okay, if this is the rest of my life, can I do it? And that could be hard, right? There could be things that you're like, gosh, this can't be the rest of my life. But you have to get to that level of non-attachment in order to fully surrender into it. And going outside and being in nature, which is super challenging right now because it's so blazing hot everywhere, is part of what can help you to surrender. Even just tuning into and dropping into your connection with the earth on a regular basis and grounding can help. And maybe I'll bring that in at the end of this talk. talking to people, sharing what's going on with you, not holding back, not being afraid to speak about what's hard for you in this moment, I think is also important because we tend to hold so much in our throat chakras that just lives there and we don't process it because we never share it with anybody. And so I hope that you have someone in your life that can be a place of refuge for you to share what's going on with you and what you're feeling. And it's also okay if you don't know what you're feeling, if you're just feeling like a top that's spinning, then do something that helps you to get back into a grounded, calm state. For me, right now, I'm chanting a lot of mantra. I get in the car and drive around and turn it all the way up and just sing. I'm doing somatic exercises to move my body. I'm meditating. I'm taking Epsom salt or sea salt baths. I'm getting support from practitioners. Like I've turned the dial all the way up on all of the things that I possibly can to support myself while I'm going through this. And it's going to take as long as it's going to take. And as we lead into Lionsgate, what Lionsgate is about, and there's different schools of thought, but my belief is it opens around the 26th of July and it runs until around the 12th of August and it peaks on the 8th of August when there's a conjunction. My perspective on it is that it's a time of shifting into right use of power. And so when we have these portals, there's definitely people who are in power who use them in ways that we don't want them to use them, that are maybe not best for the collective. But for us as individuals, what we're really doing as we move into Lionsgate Portal is claiming the truth of who we are and claiming what we want to create and claiming our personal power to the next degree. And if you understand what that really means, then you can see why we're purging what we're purging right now. We're releasing old stories and old beliefs and old pain, a lot of old pain, old emotions that have been stuffed down. Because when we carry those in our bodies and in our beings, they dim our light, they create density, they create propensity for conflict with other individuals, and it keeps us from owning our bigness, basically. And so we are pulling the stuff from the bottom of the ocean and bringing it to the light. And some of it is trashy stuff that needs to be transmuted and returned to source. And some of them are pearls. And so with this, you may also notice, and this is also something that I've noticed, that every time I lean into the emotions that are present for me right now, and I really drop in and I really allow myself to fully express. And there's not a lot of people in my household that can hold that kind of space for me. So I tend to go outside and take my one dog that can hold that space for me while I do that and be with that. My husband gets uncomfortable when I drop into those really deep emotions because it's not. It's not, he wants to help me and I don't need any help. So I pull myself out and go find my quiet space to lean into that. And when I get done with the process of really being with the emotions, the best way I know how to describe it is I have a fully connected period of time afterwards where I almost go into this blissful, euphoric state of feeling so supported and so loved by Source and by the earth and by my team and by my ancestors and even by the collective to a degree. And there's this level of peace and then slowly the next layer of what it is that I need to process comes to the surface and I work through it and come to the other side of it. And then there's another blissful moment. I do believe that this clearing that we're shifting through right now, this experience that we're having is bringing us into into a higher octave. And in that higher octave, we can be more connected, we can be more in flow, we can have an even more joyful experience of humaning. But we got to clear and move through all of the density of all of the decades and centuries of feeling oppressed and not claiming our power and just feeling the emotion of that. We've got to make space. And one of our themes this month is releasing old stories from the past, old trauma stories. And boy, when that came in, I was like, oh, yeah, I feel like we work on that sometimes. This is next level shit. to put it bluntly. We are working at the next level. I'm personally going all the way back to the fall of Lemuria when the Atlanteans came over and took over Lemuria because I'm about to take a trip to Shasta and bring in Lemurian codes for those participants. And I'm going all the way back to that time. And boy, whew, that's a long time, like really long time ago. So we are going to the bottom of the barrel, my friends, and pulling that stuff up, bringing it to the light and clearing it out. So let's just take a minute. I want to bring in something to help besides just sharing with you about what's going on, which I know helps so that you know that you're not alone. But take a minute, take a breath. I want you to just feel whatever's at the surface there. I can feel my own sadness that I'm working through, but I also just want to validate that I can feel what's happening in the collective and how many people are just really struggling and suffering right now. And maybe you can feel that too. And it's overwhelming when you're a sensitive soul. And I know that we don't want to live there, but this is also preparing us to be more connected to our humans around us. And so imagine that you can feel all of that, but then you can breathe and send a tap root down into the earth. And you can connect deeply in with Pachamama and you can feel the solidity of that connection. Almost as if she is reaching into the abyss and grabbing you by the hand and pulling you up and out of that density and back into the magic. Like a friend who calls you up and says, "Hey, are you okay? Is there anything that I can do for you?" That's what Mother Earth wants to be for you. She also wants you to clearly see what's happening on her surface and not look away from it, but she wants you to know that she's not judging you or shaming you for being in your humanness, but she does want you to pay attention to what's going on and feel what's happening here so that it can open your heart more fully so that you can live from your heart and you can live from a place of love. Because when we live from our hearts and from a place of love, we change the world. And that's what she really wants. And I want you to also tap into your connection to source, welcoming in that light, the light of that connection from above. And this also brings in the divine knowing and inspiration and wisdom that you need and the clarity that you need to work through this process and to be with these energies without being sucked completely under by them and losing yourself entirely. This is the strength and the courage and the fortitude that we need to work through this so that we can shed it, so that we can welcome in more peace and harmony on this planet. And this is the wisdom of those who came before you and the strength and the resiliency of those who came before you, who are cheering you on as you navigate into new beginnings that they could only have dreamed of. And I also want to welcome in the dragons and the angelic realm. The dragons are my helpers when I need to clear really dense energy with joy in a joyful way. And so we invite them in to encircle our energy fields and transmute this density and shed what needs to be shed here, knowing that we will continue to pull things from the bottom, look at them, and release them as we move through this process. And we welcome in the angelic realm just so that we can know that we are supported and that we are loved and that they have not abandoned us, that we are just working through a period of density that might make us feel a little disconnected from our team and our helpers and our guides. And then I want you to tune into your heart space. And I want you to bring in a visual of you coming to the other side of this shift with more joy, more peace, more light, more of your own authentic expression integrated into your being and then being able to be shared and expressed with others. I want you to visualize anything else in your life that you have been asking to shift and bring forward the intention that as you process these painful things, as you work through this density, that there is a level of support coming in that is going to catapult you, propel you forward into the next highest octave of your expression. And at the same time, I want you to be fully where you are with non attachment to when that happens, which I know is a challenge. But I want you to hold that intention and knowing of where you're going, but also surrender fully to where you are in this moment. Because only by fully surrendering to where you are, I wanted to say fully surrendering to the suck, only by fully surrendering into this now moment, into what is, can you ever work through what is needed to allow you to come into that next new moment that you're intending for. And be with all those parts that are sad or fearful or struggling or unsure. Just try to be with those aspects of self as much as you can without looking away. Try not to look away. It's like seeing a homeless person on the side of the street and not looking away from the pain that they represent of what we have, of what is not had in the collective, of this scarcity that exists in the collective. Can you look at something without looking away? Look at something hard without looking away. And can you be with that pain while also holding love in your heart and also holding hope in your heart? No spiritual bypassing here. And can you allow your heart field to open wider so that you have the capacity to hold both at the same time? So that you don't have to step fully out of your joy and your excitement in order to witness the pain of the world. And can you hold that the intention, that pain that exists in the world no longer has to exist? That doesn't have to be here forever. That we can work through this as a collective, that we can figure out how to come together and find our way, even though right now it feels really chaotic and really hard to imagine. And can you tune into the other souls who are going to watch and listen to this video and know that you're not alone in feeling this way? And can you send a pulse of love out so those that are engaged in this connection that we're creating here can feel that love and then you can receive it tenfold? Take a nice deep breath, calling yourself back home into your body. I insert your full name here, call myself back home. I call myself back home. I call myself back home. When you're ready, you can gently begin to open your eyes. So I hope that helps. I would love to tell you exactly when this will be over and when we'll be through this dense layer, but I honestly don't know. I have suspicions, I have ideas, but I think it's going to vary person to person as we work through this. And I think we will have waves of this level of feeling throughout the rest of the year. 2025 is going to be a little different, and we've got some work to do before we get there. And Lionsgate, when it opens later this month and into August, will give us a preview of what's possible. And we get to ride that joyful wave as well, right? When we ride these dense waves, we also get to ride the joyful waves on the other side. And so just keep holding that vision for yourself and for everybody around you. And this too shall pass, dear ones, but be present with what is. Let yourself feel it. And you might not have a lot of capacity to do all the things that you usually do right now. And so I personally have been scaling back a little bit and focusing only on what I need to get done. And there are things that I want to get done, but I know that it's not time yet. And that's hard if you're a type A go-getter like I am. And so this is also teaching us about rest and integration and taking time for ourselves and slowing down and being. So practice, my friends. Get outside if you can, go for a walk when it cools off, get in some water, take a bath, get a massage, sing, dance, take care of yourselves. All right. I will see you all soon. I don't know if I'll be back with a video next week. We're leaving on the 25th for Shasta, so it might be a little bit before I get back on with you all, but I'll do my best to stay connected if I can and send information out if I have the time. Otherwise, I will see you for our energy update for August. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please share this with anybody you think might need it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my pages so that you don't miss these updates, and have a great day.